Well, got a very cool bass in the mod cave today. This is Vantage VP series from 79 or maybe the early part of 1980. Made at the Matsumoku factory in Nagano. You might not have heard of Matsumoku, but I'm sure you would have heard of one or two of the brands that they were making guitars for through the 60s and 70s and 80s. Aria, Washburn, Ibanez, Univox, Greco, Gaiatone, Hondo, Westtone, Westbury. I'm pretty sure the Epiphone guitars that Gibson was selling through the 1970s, I think most of those came from the Matsumoku factory, for example. Vantage, though, is a little bit different from those other brands in that the instruments were actually designed by Matsumoku themselves, and in 78 or 79 or thereabouts they created their own in-house marketing and distribution for the brand. These instruments are really, really well made. The fretwork, the finish, the way the instruments sort of put together, the fitment and the alignment of all the parts are really, really good. Just about as good as anything you'll see from a guitar factory, certainly a mass-produced instrument from a guitar factory of this era. And to be honest, they still stand up to modern standards. And it really came as no surprise to me when I read that Matsumoku were, within the guitar industry at least, pioneers of CNC machining and wood routing. The instrument's very well put together. This particular example is in really nice original shape. I even have the original case and it's also in really great shape.
He has the case.
But there's just one or two little blemishes on the body that I want to take care of. So at some stage, obviously the instrument was owned by a left-handed player and they've gone and put a strap button on the lower horn. It's a bit of a shame, but to be honest, if I was a lefty, I probably would have done exactly the same thing. So as well as the actual hole from the screw, I've got a light mark down here, and I think that's just a scuff in the lacquer. And I've also got a chip of the lacquer missing as well, so this certainly seems to be just bare timber under here. If I just go ahead and fill this bare timber with super glue, like a regular drop fill, it will typically make bare timber much, much darker than it looks, especially end grain like this. So I think as well as mixing a filler for the hole, I think I'll also mix up some shellac to try and match this colour, and that way I can seal this bare timber before I overcoat it with super glue. I reckon this little white dot here is actually a chip through to the bare timber, and I think that'll disappear when I just touch it with some shellac that I mix up for this section. For the white section though, I've got a fresh razor and I'm just going to try and very gently scrape it. I reckon it's probably just in the lacquer. So if I rub a little polish into that with my finger, it's more or less disappeared, which is good news. I'm just going to try and tidy up this hole and then I'll mix up some shellac and some filler. This is good. I've got my magnifier now too. I can see what I'm doing, and I'm just gently clearing the sort of discoloured lacquer from around the edge of the hole. Just tidying up the edges of the hole too. They're quite ragged. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of pre-mixed French polish. Maybe half or a third again in metho, really just a drop of metho or denatured alcohol. I'm going to put some of that straight onto this piece of scrap. I've chosen this because it's roughly similar to the colour of the timber in that chip. I think I'm going to start with some golden teak. This is a yellow-brown sort of dye stain. Yeah, that's sort of heading in roughly the right direction. It is a yellow-brown. I think it needs to be browner though, so I think the next one I'll add is a little bit of this Jarrah dye stain. This is a sort of orangey brown colour. Well, it still looks quite a bit too light, but bear in mind that this chip is in end grain, so it's always going to come up a bit dark. It is also looking just a touch too orange, so I reckon it, weirdly enough, needs a drop of green. But I think as is, I'm going to put it into this little tiny spot and see how it comes up. Well, that little dot's more or less disappeared, so that's not a bad thing. Now, I use this green dye with my recent Strat Next tattoo project, and it's really, really strong, so I'm literally going to put a single drop in and see where it takes us. So it's pretty subtle, but we've gone from an orangey brown to more of a raw umber, sort of khaki sort of brown. And I think that's closer to the tonings I'm chasing, so I'm going to go with that and see how it comes up. That could probably use a second coat, but gee, it's pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and touch up the edges of the hole as well. So this is the filler I'm going to use. It's a great product. It's actually what we used to use at Maiden for these little repairs. It does say non-shrinking, but really this is designed for topping punched nails on hardwood floors and stuff where the thickest part of the fill is only 2 or 3 millimeters thick. So this screw hole, of course, is around about something like 20 millimeters deep, and I reckon if I did just completely fill it with this, it would take ages to dry, and even then there's still a risk that you'll get a little dimple like a month down the track from it shrinking slightly. So I'm going to actually fill the majority of the hole, all but probably 2 or 3 millimeters of the hole, just with a piece of bamboo skewer. And these are 2.5 millimeters in diameter, and I really just want to be able to push this in without any resistance. So I'm going to drill this out to 7/64, I guess, which is just a touch wider than 2.5. I don't want to make a mess. I really don't want to sort of smear glue all over the this entrance to the hole here. And I can push that down just with this Allen key. Now, I don't have any Timbermate in a colour that's close to the base, so I'm going to mix a little black in with the pine, then I'll tweak it up with some proof tint. Yeah, look, I think that's a pretty good match. It's the end of the day now, so I'm going to put this in, see how it looks in the morning. Well, that's actually dried a bit darker than I'd hoped. I reckon I've slightly oversaturated the filler with the proof tint, and the excess has kind of migrated to the surface as it dried. It should lighten up though when I level it. And to get this level and flush, or even slightly below flush with the varnish, I could of course sand it or file it, but that will of course scratch up the surrounding varnish. And even though I'll have to do that anyway when I go to sort of blend and level and polish the clear coat, which is most likely to be CA glue, it's probably best if you can minimize the amount of damage to the surrounding varnish while you're working towards that. So the trick with this sort of filler is just to use a damp rag wrapped around a piece of scrap timber, and I should be able to just gradually work it down, and you can see it's just gently removing a little bit of the filler. Okay, so that's just under flush. That actually feels pretty good, and you can see it's actually lightened up slightly. So I'll touch that up with some of my tinted shellac from before. The goal is to just get it to about the same colour as the light part of the timber, and then I can deepen this and maybe draw in some grain lines. So I'm going to try and hide this a little bit further by adding some grain lines in here. These dark lines in this timber aren't naturally occurring. They're created, I guess, in the factory by wiping on something like a glaze, almost like a thick stain or a thin grain filler. You can actually see a few drips of it in the electronics cavity. So I've poured off some of my touch-up shellac. I've added a bit of black, a bit of brown to deepen it up in colour. And I've also added a little bit of the original premixed French polish just to thicken it slightly. I don't want it smearing on the surface. I really just want to be able to put some grain lines in, probably apply it with a toothpick. Shooting this with my phone through my magnifier. Hopefully you can see I've put a couple of dark lines through there just to hide it a little bit further. I'm actually going to put this aside for a couple of hours. I'm going to go and get some lunch, and then we'll come back and do the CA work. Got the base up on a stand so that the repair is as horizontal as possible. I don't want the CA running down and making a mess. Just cleaning the surrounding area with a little bit of metho or denatured alcohol on a cotton bud, just being very careful not to get that onto any of the shellac touch-ups because it would make a mess of that. So that's looking pretty good. And I'm just going to dull the surface ever so slightly with a bit of 800 grit just in the surrounding areas. Just makes for a better transition if there is an overlap from the CA to the old finish. Really barely touching the surface, really just dulling, just taking the gloss off the surface of the original finish. So I've got a little pool of CA, just medium viscosity super glue in this red lid, and I've blunted off the tip of my toothpick, and that's going to be my weapon to apply it. Got a blob there. I'm just going to push that around to the edges. And I'll just run a little around the surrounding areas as well. Now I do have CA accelerator, but I'm actually just going to let this cure naturally. I much prefer to do drop fills that way, unless you're in a real hurry, because you run the risk of the fill itself sort of boiling and going kind of hazy. So I like to let the CA just cure naturally, and in quite a thick application like this, I'm going to leave it for about an hour or so. That should do it. Alright, it's time to level and polish out my little repair. I've already got my wet and dry paper soaking. I've got pieces from 800 and every grit up to 2000. It's always a good idea to soak your wet and dry for about an hour or more before you use it. I'm not really sure what it does, but it definitely seems to cut better and last a bit longer when you do that. The other top tip for finish work in general is to have some good lights, and especially lights you can move around. I've even got a little torch there. Certainly makes seeing what you're doing and seeing kind of how you're going as you polish up, it certainly makes it a bit easier. First thing is to feel around, make sure none of the repair work is actually lower than the surrounding finish. This all feels pretty good. If there were any dips in it, then I would have to just build that up with another drop of CA, but this actually feels, well, it all feels to be proud of the surrounding finish. To get started on leveling this, you can use our razor blade and just sort of pare it back like that, and that works quite well, especially on flat surfaces. But for something like this that's more of a sort of convex shape, I much prefer to use my little rasp. I've used this guy for years, and it takes a bit of patience, but it means I can sort of shape it and follow the existing curve. And it sort of dulls it off, and it's very easy to see as well where you're going. You can also feel the drag is ever so slightly different between the CA and the original finish. Poly is actually very, very hard, and this will tend to just sort of skid across the surface if you're using light pressure, and you can actually feel it where it's cutting the CA and not cutting the poly. Alright, it's feeling pretty smooth, and as I move it round it feels kind of uniformly dull, and it looks like it's blended into the old finish quite well. So it's time to move up to some wet and dry paper. I've got this flexible piece of neoprene which I use as a sanding block, and I'll start with 800 grit. these fine papers, you really have to let the paper do the work. You don't want to press it too heavily. I'm really just guiding the paper and letting it cut itself. If anything, it looks slightly too shiny, and I may actually just degloss it ever so slightly. Okay, I've got some 4/0 steel wool. Just gonna very lightly drag it through. Yeah, I reckon that looks pretty good. It's not exactly invisible at close range. I reckon I probably could have put that extra drop of green in the shellac after all. It does look just a touch too orange to me, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. Certainly looks a lot better than it did before. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon. It's a really big help for small channels like mine. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.